There's a big game out this week where you can kill bears. It's one of my favorite things to do in a video game, period. It's called Rise of the Tomb Raider. IGN gave it a 9.3. Phenomenal game. I cannot stop playing this. We have brand director Rich Briggs on the show to tell us about how this thing came together. Rich, roll on in.
Come on.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
There we are.
I wish I had that summoning power with anybody.
I think that's just been my most fun entrance ever.
Right? Just roll
That
on in.
was a very, very casual entrance.
I,
It's kind of like,
I thought there was no other way to do it other than casually slide.
Well, we were
on
going to
my
either have
chair
you do
into
that or the
frame.
thing where you pretend to walk upstairs from behind the couch.
Why didn't we do that? Why didn't? Can we do it again? This is
Rich-
not live, right? We can just.
Can you do like a levitation from the bottom of the...
I did that earlier by accident. I kicked the little lever thing. You got sunk down real bad.
Rich, welcome to Up at Noon. Thank you for coming on the show. Huge fan of your game.
Thank you.
What does a brand director do for Tomb Raider?
If
What
you
does it
can,
mean?
if you can tell me, I'll let my boss know.
Really?
No. It basically, very simple terms, is anything that the consumer or that you guys see from the marketing, the PR, events, licensing, anything like that, I have to make sure it fits with the tenets of our core franchise. So to make sure that we don't do anything that would bring the Tomb Raider name down.
So like Lara Croft's crazy kart racing or something? Probably not.
That you would not believe how many requests I get for that, but I shut every one of them down.
Man.
Well, I'm a little bit mad, but I guess we can live with
Max,
that.
if you requested it, I might let it slide through. So
I feel like your job is probably, I don't want to say your job is easy because it's absolutely not. You obviously, you're tired, you've had a rough week. You're trying to play your own game while you're talking about your game, and you're doing it before work and after work and stuff like that. It's tough. I know the feeling. But Lara Croft has had this tremendous kind of remaking in the last few years. We've actually seen her go from being this sort of, it was kind of like there was that 90s era of like Duke Nukem and Lara Croft and, you know, Jill of the Jungle and all those weird characters like that. They were just sort of like one-dimensional, actiony. They were sort of different versions of Sigourney Weaver or Arnold Schwarzenegger. She is a very changed character now. And it's not really in the she's a great woman. She's just a great hero. She's a great hero character. So what's it been like kind of working with this new redefined Lara Croft?
Well, first, thank you. I mean, we took a lot of time and energy and thought about if we were going to reboot one of the most iconic characters in gaming, how would we do that? And so I appreciate that you brought up a lot of the things that were important to us. It was important that Lara became known for different things than she'd traditionally be known for. But at the same time, we have to hold on to some of those nostalgic things and celebrate things like tomb raiding. You know, celebrate the fact that she is a brilliant archaeologist. We do want to present a very relatable and human Lara, but we want to do so in a way that, you know, what makes her awesome is her will, her drive, you know, her spirit of adventure, her pushing herself beyond physical, mental limits to do what she thinks is right.
So now one of the things I really appreciate about this game is that it gives you all of those abilities and it gives you all of those thrills, but it also kind of opens up a lot more than I think a lot of people expected it would. When we first saw footage of the last game in this series, right, the original reboot, I think a lot of people thought it was just very sort of scripted, very Uncharted, and a lot of your demos, obviously, at trade shows to kind of show off how great it looks in motion, focus on that stuff. But I think this game really shines when it opens up into these kind of big, almost overwhelming valleys that now hunting has become a huge part of. So how do you kind of balance that? This is the story. This is what you need to do to advance.
Right.
Or I kind of want to just shoot pigeons for a little while.
Well, absolutely, and that is the thing that we want people to have, is that player-driven exploration and adventure, where you can always be on the roller coaster ride, but at any given time when you go into one of these huge hubs, which are, you know, 3 times, 4 times larger than anything we built in Tomb Raider, you now have the opportunity to slow down. And you always know what your next story beat is if you choose to go after it, but you can absolutely hunt bears, shoot the birds, you know, do missions for remnants. You can make things that will actually help you later in the adventure.
Learn Greek.
Learn Greek, you can, which will then allow you to translate a monolith, which will then show you where hidden coin caches
I
are
like it when
formed.
games make me feel smart. Like I press X and I get to learn the thing.
Yeah, and you actually do learn Greek while you're playing the game. We subliminally just push it right into your head.
That's right. I actually just opened a family-run Greek restaurant as soon as I finished Tomb Raider because you guys have given me so many quality recipes.
Lots
throughout
of
my
benefits.
So now, for some reason, I feel like this game is slightly more serious in tone than the last one.
That's really?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I really do. I think it still has that sort of inherent campiness to it, but I think on the flip side, with the sort of pullback, her friends are not really as present. That kind of like island of adventurers that you're kind of ragtagging with. I feel like this game gets a little more serious, but at the same time, some of those like incredibly grotesque death animations, they're not gone entirely. I've run into a few, but they are. You guys did scale those back a little bit. Was there feedback about that?
Well, I think there's two parts to that. One, it's absolutely a little bit more of a darker chapter in Lara's journey. We always start with where is she in her adventure? And
right.
in the first adventure, she was in a reactive situation. She was forced into a survival setting. She found that she had, sort of the will and the internal fortitude to push through and be a survivor. But Rise of the Tomb Raider was all about her making the choice to put herself in harm's way. And that in and of itself is a little bit of a darker tone. It also deals with her relationship with her father. You learn a lot about Lara's past. So there's a lot of very, very deep things that are happening in the narrative. But then speaking to the death side, we want to make sure that it's not just violence for the sake of violence. It shouldn't feel gratuitous, but it should feel like survival, and the threat of death has consequences. And we want you to feel like there is, in particular in the tombs, a danger around every turn. We want you to feel like this is an awe-inspiring but still a deadly place. So we do want you to feel like, I don't want to watch Lara die, and I do feel on the edge of my seat that this is a hostile world fiercely protecting its secrets, and it's going to try and kill me.
I did catch one or two of those deaths in one of the tombs where there was this very rapid river, and if one slip up, you fell into it, and you basically were smashed against the rocks. But it was never to the point of like there's a tree spearing through my face. Now, in terms of traversal, you guys have done some really fascinating things with this game this time around. I've been playing, open world climbing games for the better part of my adult life now, and a lot of them are basically like there's a glowing yellow thing, jump on it, it crumbles, jump on the next glowing yellow thing. But now you've got this like big claw that you can jump off of things and grab onto, and there's that sort of like that thrill of Sylvester Stallone cliffhanger to it all. How did that come about?
Well, we wanted to figure out how are we going to take what we thought we did well, which is Lara's traversal. She's always been very agile, very mobile. Even in combat, you do well if you're moving around the environment, keeping your enemies guessing. We wanted to take that to the next level in a couple ways. So adding the grapple axe, as you mentioned, is a great way to give her yet another way to traverse the environment. It allows us to add more verticality to the environment. And when things are crumbling and you're having to react quickly to the environment changing, that also reinforces that idea of a hostile environment and a landscape, right? Like they aren't always on sure footing, and you do have to have quick reactions to stop when something crumbles or when you're sliding and you have to make a jump. So it really is about escalating on a couple different levels, both within the world as well as Lara's mobility.
Now, I actually got a question. I know that clearly this is a very serious game. You put kind of story at the forefront. You've got some gruesome stuff. I saw a screenshot. There was a rainbow trail, and Lara had a real big head. And I was like, is this an N64 game from Acclaim? Because what's going on here?
There's exploding chickens now, right?
There are exploding chickens. So
you have my attention.
So I'm glad. That was our intent. What happens is you do have other modes that you can play the game, and they're called expedition modes. And paired with that are expedition cards. And along the main storyline, you can earn credits, and you can use those to unlock these expedition cards. And want to make it very clear that you can't play expedition cards in the core single-player campaign because we do want to keep everything very grounded. But when you're playing these extra modes, like a chapter or replay or remnant resistance, which is when you can create your own missions and have the community play them and see how they do, then you can play these expedition cards, and they can lead to some very fun results, like a big head mode, like a rainbow trail, or my favorite,
Croft or whatever,
chicken bomb, which means yes, when you throw a chicken, it explodes.
Right.
So who doesn't want an expedition card that you can talk about replay value?
Yeah,
exploding chickens.
I think it adds a strange, interesting, fun layer to it all. I haven't jumped into it yet because I'm still like so tonally locked into the way this game is presenting the story that I feel like right now But on the flip side, I'm not exploding chickens, but I will spend 10 or 15 minutes shooting them on the countryside in one of your hub areas, right? Which is just, it feels weird to do, but it's also you get some XP for it.
You're a monster.
You do.
Also.
I am a monster.
There's both, I won't say what they are because I don't want to spoil, but there's both a challenge as well as an achievement associated with chickens.
Sure.
So you want to play with them.
For the last few years, and I know you guys aren't actively engaged in this sort of this pissing contest, I'll call it, but there's been Tomb Raider and there's been Uncharted, and they've been going back and forth. And I feel like Tomb Raider is absolutely setting its way to kind of create its own vision for what these sort of AAA action, kind of almost like Indiana Jones style movie video games are like. Is that something? Are you guys consciously distancing yourself, or just sort of finding your own footing?
Well, I think we're absolutely finding our own footing, and we're obviously huge fans of the Uncharted series. They built some great games over there. But what we want to always do is look at what we've established with Tomb Raider. You know, we were really proud of what we did with the reboot, and we look for ways to not mess up what we think we did well. You know, so the cinematic survival action, Lara's journey, we want to continue those. But then we want to push ourselves in ways like, how can we add on to combat? How can we really make the world open up, like you said, to get more of that player-driven exploration? So
Sure.
It really comes from us always trying to deliver a better experience, going from a 15 to 20 hour experience to now a 30 to 40 hour experience, where we really want you to feel like there is so much to do in this world, so much that I can do when I'm off that roller coaster ride of cinematic survival action, and when the world really opens up. I think that all comes together, and then of course Tombs. We got to add in the Tombs.
So,
all that comes together for, I think, us to really just continue to challenge ourselves and push further.
I think to speak to the Uncharted comparison, one thing I really do like about Tomb Raider is there is that sense of isolation and exploration, which you kind of get less of when you're hanging out with your pals. It's always Nate and Sully, but Lara's like on her own, and I'm actually really excited to hear that it's less of her like picking up after her friends like in the first one, which they're all right, they're cool, but it was like, yeah. It's nice to have that sense of like, oh crap, it's me and bears and guys who want to kill me. Like,
Right.
That's exciting.
It is,
Yeah.
and I think that really reinforces the survival action. And we also made a conscious effort to have fewer characters because we wanted to go deeper on the ones that we did. We loved the ones from the first game, but we didn't feel like we had the opportunity to flesh them out as much as we would. So really making it so that Lara was on her own more and didn't have as many people that she had to interact with speaks to the isolation, like you said, speaks to having to live off the land, speaks to Lara really having to be the person that's doing this. I mean, she feels this very, very deep-rooted responsibility to do this because she feels like she's the one that has the skill and the will and the intelligence to accomplish it. So you'll see her say, Jonah, go back. I have to do this on my own. And that, I think, supports all those
for
things.
25 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
sometimes
Jonah
you
wouldn't
gotta do it.
approve of
You
that.
don't
That's
know
no
where
good.
that fits in the grand scheme of things.
That's true.
We
I
have
had
not
chicken
yet
for dinner
revealed
last night. I understand
where
this.
chickens fall
It's all part of the original
in the
vision.
pursuit
The gritty
of
reboot of
immortality.
Alfred Chicken.
Now it's been strange for me because I realized that this game came out between my 1-year wedding anniversary and my wife's birthday, and she has been watching me play this a lot. And she said to me like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "It's Tomb Raider." And she was like, "Oh, that Angelina Jolie movie." And I was like, "No, man, like a lot has changed since then." But we got a question from ZenBloke on Twitter. He says Emma Watson for the Tomb Raider movie.
Oh.
So if you guys
That's
were to bring
interesting.
back, if you were going to remake a movie about Tomb Raider, Emma
gonna say-
Watson.
Well,
I mean, because I
I've
feel
got-
like you guys have an actress set
I
already.
know. I've got to stick with Camilla. I
Yeah.
mean, we the movie. Obviously, they've announced that there's a movie. It's in the reboot timeline. We haven't announced many other details around that. So there's nothing around casting yet. But for me, Camilla kind of is Lara. So.
I was
Yeah.
going to say Jennifer
Not
Lawrence
that I don't
makes a lot of
respect
sense.
Jennifer Lawrence. I have respect for Jennifer
got-
Lawrence.
she
I have
knows a bow
respect
and
for
arrow.
Emma Stone. But I got to go back to Camilla.
I can't even picture Emma Watson with just like a little bit of dirt on her face getting out there. She's a little too prim and proper for that.
You should check out my blog. It's Emma Watson with Emma Stone with dirt on her face. .blogspot.
Oh, good.
It's real good.
That's
It's
a really long URL. I'm glad you locked that.
Well, it's also a blog spot, and we're in 2015.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Finally, you guys have one of the biggest games of the week, right? But you picked a kind of interesting release day. You went up against this massive 200-hour open world post-apocalyptic RPG, which I feel like is eating up a lot of the sort of time and real estate and conversation space. But at the same time, you guys shipped this phenomenal game. Like,
Thank you.
Of all the days in the world, how did you guys share a date with Fallout 4?
Well, we didn't know their date when they announced, so we weren't privy to that information. I think that they're two very different experiences.
I agree.
So, we knew we were getting ready to announce our date at E3. They did the same. I wish them all the best. I'm a huge Fallout fan. And I think that, number one, we've got two experiences that can satisfy two different things.
Yeah.
And number two, who else was going to launch on that day? Nobody, right? You look at that, you're like, oh, Rise of the Tomb Raider and Fallout 4. Yeah, I think I'll
Yeah.
steer clear.
Well,
of that day.
it's like you guys, and then Bethesda, and then it's just like Barbie horse racing and her sisters or whatever. you
Hey,
know?
that's a contender, okay?
That's true. That's true. I saw a
that
lot of
one we
people.
were scared of.
A lot of people at the midnight launch for that.
I was, whew.
Well, Rich, thank you so much, man. Thank you for bringing your energy and for putting out this amazing game. What's the rest of your career look like now?
Well,
We'll keep it simple.
Yeah,
Fall
the
of
rest
the
of my
Tomb Raider.
career. No, that's not a bad one.
The Fall of the Tomb Raider.
Maybe a little darker than we
infinite
want to
faller.
go.
You just gotta
Yeah. Oh,
Dodge chickens and bricks.
like
and stuff.
Downwell. What's that game? Or,
Yeah.
The game's out. Do you get to relax now?
A little bit. You know, we have some DLC. We're still working on lots of promotion for the game, so I'm not going to relax just yet. But I will say, I will take some time off around the holidays, so
Please
that'll
do.
be good,
Yeah,
and I'll be
definitely.
playing lots and lots of games. So
Go 100% your own game.
And thanks, Brian and Max, for having me on the show.
Of course, man.
Always
Thanks for
great
coming
chatting
by.
with you guys.
Come back
Appreciate
soon.
it. I will.
All right.
Thanks, Rich. Now we're gonna roll
All
you.
right.
There we go.
I get to stretch out a little bit.